Okay, it is exactly 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Wednesday, May the 5th, 2021. Welcome to week five, and the final lecture for this course. Tonight, I will be covering the details of week five, as well as uh, mentioning near the end the requirements for week six. And as you know, um, the course actually ends a week from yesterday, which is the 11th. So you should be aware of the fact that anything submitted after the 11th of May will not be accepted. I cannot accept it under no circumstances. Well, there is one, but I won't talk about it because you should know what that is by now. But generally speaking, you can't just call me up and say, I need more time. Doesn't do it. There's a special thing that you got to request or that you should be able to be aware of. We talked about it early on, like during week one. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. I'm going to enter the student preview mode so that we can go over some things. Okay, let's move this. So of course, if you want to check your emails, you go here. This tells all the emails that I sent out. It only shows mine. And it does not show you the emails that you sent to me and that I responded to, but you can see that. So now let's get into the grade book itself. So we are, um, as you can see, we're in week five. So in week five, we have the first written assignment, which is release planning. All right, let's move this over. So due Sunday the 9th, and then it's graded with the rubric. And so there's 3 sections to it for the rubric. And I'll show you that in just a few minutes. So we're going to go back to that. I want to go back there. All right. For a maximum total of 60 points. This is how you can see what the assignment is all about. Here we go. So you see the due date, the maximum number of points is 60. And so you use this scenario in here. And then for this assignment, you'll be creating a proposal that includes the following. Pay attention. Identify 2 recommendations for this state. All right. Now, remember now, it tells you already what kind of system they have. Identify 2 recommendations for this state, including examples for each recommendation, why you think these recommendations will be the most impactful in this state. Explain how each recommendation is aligned with research by conducting research, including RNR, TPC, and any other principles. I'm not going to talk about what those mean right now. Really, you should know. And then very, 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 very important, provide supporting evidence from credible sources. I'm going to say it again because every week that I grade papers, students fail to provide credible sources. References are not credible sources. Do not put references in the body of your paper. References are supposed to be a separate page at the end. Citations are credible sources, and they should line up with the references. So this is the last week that you'll hear me say that. Credible sources are not references. That tells where you got the information. But credible sources are citations, which I say time and time again, are support the statements that are contained in your papers. So when you write something in your papers and I read it and I know it's something that you didn't know, you got it from someplace. Give credit for it. Make sure that you run your papers through Grammarly. Not too many of you gotten a problem with that, so that you don't get hit with that. All right. So again, supporting evidence from credible sources. Wikipedia is not one of them. Provide stated ideas with professional language using correct spelling, grammar. So it is APA. Citations in the body and references in the end. Don't just give me a citation. Please. That will cause your grade to go down. And we're going to show you in a minute the entire rubric. So submit it in Word document. Some people have submitted pictures. Some people have presented other ways. You're going to get a 0 because it says save your assignments as Microsoft Word document. Every single week when you saw your written assignments, this is what it says. And this is what you guys see, okay? So I'm going to come back to this, but I wanted to show you this right now. Just remember what I said about credible sources. If there's somebody that says, oh, I got it now, I've been saying it since week 1. Then your discussion post deals with sensible revocation. Of course, you got 2 scenarios here. So what you want to do is read what it says here. Offenders face many barriers upon release from prison. As a result, many offenders fail on parole. Parolees can be violated for both technical violations and new offenses. Regardless of the reason parolees are violated, the rates of revocation are high. This leads to the question, so what is sensible revocation? So the question is, what point in time should you send that person to prison or back to prison? Because they've been released on parole. Very important, very important. And so again, the question before you is, what is sensible revocation? So you have 2 scenarios. And you look at these scenarios. And what you're going to do with these 2 scenarios is, for your initial post, select one of the scenarios, either 1 or 2. Explain what is a technical violation versus new offenses. Okay? What is a technical violation and what is a new offense? We've talked about that before. We'll talk a little bit about it tonight. Include examples of a technical as well as a new offense violation. This is in your discussion post for your initial post. Detail the reasons why the parolee selected should or should not have been reincarcerated or had their sentence revoked. Include examples from the scenario to support your reasons. Describe your thoughts as to what sensible revocation means. All right, so I'm looking at that. That is due as of yesterday. As of Saturday, choose a peer who selected the other scenario, not the same scenario you did. So if you did scenario number 1, your reply should not relate to number 1. It should relate to number 2 and vice versa. Discuss whether you believe your peer actually explained technical and new offense violations and supported by their recommendations and reasons. And then you detail the reasons you agree or disagree. Sharing additional thoughts. That is due Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you know how to put your response in. Be aware, as you already know now, that we're under what we call post first. If you have not posted your initial post, you will not see anything else. That is to keep students from taking someone else's post and using it for their initial post. That is the assignment for that. Then the quiz speaks for itself. You have 3 opportunities. Again, I speak about the quiz. I recommend that you study all the material and then you take the quiz. If you're going to take the quiz 3 times, I would take it 1 time on Friday, 1 time on Saturday, and 1 time on Sunday. That's how I would do it. Of course, if I get 100 or get all of my, it'll tell you a score. You get a real high score. You can take it again because remember, if you do go down, you're not, the highest score is what's going to count. It doesn't average to 3. And then the final thing is the live classroom lecture. Okay. All right. And so then we'll talk about module 6 after I go through the lecture itself, because it's really not much for you with module 6. And those are the assignments that are due. All right, so let's look at the course calendar. Course calendar, now, once again, this is how you see it. Just as we put it on the month. Notice the dots tell you when there's something going on. So if you put it on the month, you see each day, starting with today. You saw the initial post was due yesterday. You saw the reply post is due on Saturday. You saw the assignments are all due on the 9th. And then you see the course ends the 11th. So this is the last live lecture. There is no week 6 lecture. You should be aware of that in this course. All right, so the course absolutely ends, and we'll talk about the assignments that are due for that day. Okay, basically it's posting quiz. The course absolutely ends at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, so I've gone over that. There is the calendar again. Oh, I thought I'd come out of student review. Preview, I should have. Preview ended. So I should not be in student anymore. There we go. All right. All right, so now let's take a look at the announcement. We've seen the calendar. So let's see the announcement for today. Week 5. In the 5th week, challenges within the field of corrections. To prepare for this, I gave you chapter 7, and of chapter 7, you read these pages and look at the PowerPoints. It's only 4 pages in chapter 7. Then the entire chapter 13, then the entire chapter 15 and 16 of the text. And deal with the activities, challenges and corrections, TPC review, and vocabulary review. We're going to go over that. And then we already been over sensible revocation, discussion posts, initial posts due yesterday, reply posts Saturday. And then the written assignment, release, planning, and the quiz. And then you know about my motto, adversity is the springboard to success. Okay. Your week 6 announcement will be posted by tomorrow. I'll post it tonight, so you'll see the week 6 announcement, since the lecture is no longer going to take place. So you'll see what you have to do for week 6, but you'll already know, because I'm going to talk about that before we end. All right, so now let's go into week 5. Again, back to the written assignment. Let's move this. I've already gone over this, but the purpose for me going over this now is to show you the rubric, the entire rubric. So as you can see, notice what it says. I told you which column that we use. Type in the chat box if you know which column we use. Mastery. Think in terms of that. Many of you end up in emerging, and if you pay close attention, you'll notice that you fail to get emerging, out of emerging, without doing the following. 2 identified recommendations, most impactful and thorough examinations of each. Okay, please cite the sources that you get that information. All right, if you don't, you're going to have 55. Thorough alignment of the 2 recommendations. Remember, you already did that. Made to RNR, TPC, and other identified principles of corrections with what? Credible sources. If you have minimal, you're going to end up here. All right, or here. If you have none, you're going to end up here. And I already told you what credible sources are, so I'm not going to repeat it. So it's very, 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 very important. And then the last part is spelling, grammar. Make sure you have a cover page, good people. Make sure you have a reference page as well. And that's what I wanted to show you. Okay, that was my purpose for doing that for the written assignment, because I already showed you the details of it. Okay, let's close that down. Okay, here it is. And then your discussion post. I'm not going to open that up because you already know. And then your quiz, you already know about that. And then your live classroom recording will be under this. Right now, it just shows for people how to find the lecture, but I will be changing that after I finish the recording there. Okay. So now I want to talk about the challenges, introduction to corrections, and look at the knowledge check that you'll end up having to do. And then After we do that, then I'm going to talk about these two things. I'm going to talk about Module 6. So just hold on. So let's talk about the challenges. Okay, let's move that over. So there's a lot of issues that you face as a correction officer, um, dealing with individuals, the administration, prison relief process, what things that obstacles that offenders face, and what is the role of probation and parole officers is further challenge, which you know about that because we discussed um, probation officers last week. So at the heart of all of this, it says here, when a person is placed on probation or parole, they're giving them a chance to either probation, not go to jail, and then serve their time with the public, or parole, serve the rest of their sentence with the public. And so we balance the safety of the public along with the fact that these individuals hopefully will find themselves at 6 o'clock on the clock. And you know what I'm talking about because I've talked about that, where they have reached the stage, they've been pointed to a new direction. It is that it says here, and it recites what I've said over and over. It is cheaper to educate than to incarcerate. It says incarceration is the most extensive punishment. And so you have recidivists that come in, you have new people that come in, people that violate parole and probation is revoked, and it goes on and on and on. And so it costs money. It results in overcrowdedness as a result. And so one of the goals of corrections is to deal with the public safety, to protect the public, so that these individuals, when they're out, that they are at 6 o'clock, so that they have a new direction in life and won't go back and do the things that they did at 12 o'clock, which got them to the point that they ended up being incarcerated or become recidivists or repeat offenders. So we balance that with the successes. We want to have people to demonstrate that they have learned something or been given something through the process that has given them a new direction in life. Again, education tends to decrease recidivism every single time. Providing vocational training for individuals have a tendency to increase success for parolees and probationers. Taking care of the needs, the medical needs. I classify drugs as a health issue. Next term, I will be teaching drugs and crime. If you take that course and you see me over there, I'll elaborate more on it. But we must make sure that we are not just having people just to serve a number of times without getting them to 6 o'clock, without giving them what they need. If a person has a drug problem, you can lock them up 100 years. But when they get out, they're going to go back to doing what they did. And the bad part about it is that when incarcerated the longer, they also have access to drugs. So what do you want to do? You want to provide programming that deals with the problems that individuals face. Lack of education, lack of a trade. Many people are turning to becoming barbers and beauticians while incarcerated and reaching the stage where they're able to make an honest living. second chance programs, providing opportunities for these people to have places to live, uh, connecting them with their families that will hopefully help them, unless the family could be contributors to why the individual is incarcerated in the first place. So the primary goals that we have are two: public safety and success. Okay. And these programs contribute to success and begin to minimize the revolving door effect of recidivism that I talked about before. Also, technical violations, um, as well as new offense violations. A technical violation means that the individuals violated the terms and conditions of their probation or parole as issued by the parole board or the judge and enforced by the parole officer and or the probation officer. That's technical violations, okay? Such as if it tells you don't drink and you're drinking alcohol. If it tells you don't use drugs and you don't pass a drug test. If it tells you that you are supposed to report so often and you don't report. Or you find yourself in a situation where it is recommended that you don't change your address or things like that. So there are many issues. New offenses occur when, of course, you're out and you commit another crime. So the thing is that if we work hard to provide the abilities for people to be successful, dealing with the health issues, drugs, crime, dealing with the financial issues that relate to education and also vocations and trades, and then provide an opportunity for them to have adequate housing and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that those individuals are able to function as citizens, okay, and that it is successful, what we call reintegration. Come out of prison and you blend back into the community and you have a new and the challenges that go with it. So now dealing with the intro. Oh, I see what the problem was. Okay, so let's start dealing with this. So as you should know, by the way, this week is what they call National Corrections Officers Week. And then this page uh, gives a lot of information and highlights about it as well. I don't want to open up that. I want to go into something else. I want to go to next. I want to go to the overview and challenges in corrections, starting with TPC review, which you heard us talking about, and knowing what that means. Transition from prison to community. Another way of saying it is reintegration. And so the Institute of Corrections the is a center where it helps individuals, helps learning, innovation, and leadership that advances the correctional practice for correction officers. Okay, provides technical assistance and training to agencies. And so anyway, transition from prison to community is designed to, as I said earlier, reduce recidivism and victimization. Recidivism and victimizing people once you're out results in enhancing the public safety, if we talked about, and improve the lives of the community of everybody, victims and offenders. Okay, so now you know what that is. All right, let's go to transition components. So components of the prison to community deal with, these are different things that can help you. First one is assessment. So we deal with R&R, risk principles of the R&R determine who you have to target. The higher the risk, of course, the higher the service. The need of R&R to determine what to target. And the things that we work on are the antisocial behavior to help them to be able to blend in with people, personality pattern to help them to, once again, blend in with people, and then their attitudes, values, and beliefs to value life and to appreciate life. And then associating with peers or individuals or friends who can offer positive as opposed to negative contributions to their lives. The case plan is, as we already have said, this moves the offender from prison to the community and vice versa. But we want to move them into the community. Offender drives case planning. So what we do is the focus is the offender to help them to stay out of trouble. That's the bottom line. Focus on Big Four with attention to criminal thinking and skill deficits, forever changing the directions that individuals will find themselves in their lives. Utilizing what we call evidence-based research, information that we've discovered from research that have worked to reduce criminal behavior, provide skills, dealing with the genders of individuals, each are dealt with differently, levels of functioning and so forth, and implement it with integrity, honesty and integrity, which is so important. I talk about that in my teaching all the time, that you need to be professional, educated, and ethical. Well, that goes with integrity. So who are the stakeholders? Here are the individuals to help the families, the mentors, and peers be there for them. Corrections need to work together as a team with faith-based communities like our churches, our religious organizations, our social agencies, and to treat providers, treatment, understanding R&R, which we've already talked about, and utilize it in their programming to help them. Complications that you might run into: lack of understanding of treatment. People don't understand, or getting them to understand, and you as officers must understand. How do you do this? Philosophical change for many prison employees. We already talked about the philosophy to change from punishment to rehabilitation, getting individuals to the point. You know, your goal should be, I don't want to see you again. I'm talking about the person that you're dealing with. I don't want to see you again. I want to see you back behind bars. That's the philosophy. And you do everything that you need to do ethically and professionally with the knowledge and education that you learn from school and your continuing education and training to accomplish that. Who does this? Protection officers, case managers, and POs, probation officers, parole officers. And we talked about the training and expectations. Of course, it takes money to do this. That the funding seems to be a problem sometimes for our communities to provide so that correction officers are paid adequately. So there's funding to provide adequate number of officers or staffers to meet the needs of the individuals who are incarcerated. I already talked about this, forming a relationship with the community. Lack of community programs or service upon release, very serious problem. And it needs to be fixed. And it says in rural communities, well, yeah, because people are just out there. But it also is a problem in urban areas as well. Okay. All right. So we've completed that. So we can close that. So now this is something that I'm not going to do with you, but I'm going to show you how to utilize this. This is so that you'll be able to get ready for your exams, your quizzes. So you'll do this from your research and reading, but let's just take a look and let's take a shot at some of these. A management principle holding that a supervisor can effectively oversee only a limited number of subordinates. What's it called? What do you think? Chain of command? Let's see. I think that was it. And actually, I'm going to show you something. You have to read the question very carefully. Go back. I want to show you something. This is what you do on tests too. A management principle holding that a supervisor can effectively oversee only a certain number. So chain of command is actually from the warden all the way down. How about this one? Oops, let's go back. Go back again because I clicked it too fast. I'm just showing you by a process of elimination. So a management principle holding that a supervisor. So span of control. Let's see what it says. That's it. Does that make sense, that answer? Then do the next one. We'll do one more. a series of organizational positions in order of authority, with each person receiving orders from the one immediately above and issuing. Now which one? Yes, yes, yeah, because it's telling you. It's talking about a chain of command. Absolutely. So then I do continue. So I'm not going to continue with those. So you do the whole thing, and it helps you to process and understand the materials and information. Very important. So that's the practice test for you. All right. So do you have any questions about week 5? Okay. So now let's go to module 6. So your discussion post is going to involve peer feedback. This is you guys, not me. And in your initial post, copy and paste your proposal from module 5, release planning. You see why I say that it's so easy for you to do your initial post? Which means you had to have done your assignment, not your discussion post, but your copy and paste. That's all you got to do. Now, in your response, review a peer's proposal to evaluate the criterion, recommendations, 2 recommendations why they should be impactful in examples, and alignment, align the R&R and TPC and other principles of corrections. Okay, remember the goals that we talked about. There's only 2. Dealing with the public and then dealing with the individuals themselves. Public safety and the other. Okay. Determine the level of achievement for each criterion as emerging competence, proficiency, and remember, which one you gonna focus on? Yes, always begin to think that way. And if you think this way in this class, maybe it'll transfer over into other classes. Explain how the criterion is at the level of achievement, at least one suggestion or improve the criterion. That's the discussion assignment. Of course, you know when they're due. Okay. Both posts are due what day? Tuesday, exactly. Okay. And then, of course, your quiz. Your quiz. Now, remember the thing about your quiz. Okay. Remember, it's very important. But you say you goofed up. Let me see what you said. I goofed up on my discussion post yesterday. Is there any way I can fix it? Well, you can add another. Yeah, you can. Yeah. I don't know what you mean when you say you goofed up on it, because I haven't had a chance to look at week 5s yet. All of them. Okay, go ahead and do whatever you need. You can put another post. Remember, additional posts are always accepted. Okay. Now, back to 6. So you have your quiz and you have the discussion posts. Those are your assignment. And I'm not going to go over this, but I will tell you that you want to take a look at this material, evidence-based science. So you want to study this material here. and talk about the correctional dilemmas. All right. And it actually just tells you right here, if you just look at these. Okay. Very important. That helps you. Now remember, that helps you with week 6. Okay. And then corrections today. And you're going to deal with the various issues dealing with the various races and ethnicities involved as well. And you're going to look at that, the statistics and the numbers as to how corrections is today. Future of corrections, that would be you all. So then you deal with this and you come in and you looking forward uh, and you go over this section here. And this is actually from your textbook. Then the 4 current trends. And here they are. Evidence-based practices that we already looked at. More technology. And if you click on them, it tells you. Determining what works. Electronic monitoring, things of that nature that are involved. Different kind of drug testing. So you want to look at this, recognizing that crime rates and how they change. And so we want to try to be aware of these things. And then the last thing, I have said this before, criminal justice is a nationally respected field of study, and dealing with probation and parole, when we start dealing with corrections aspect, and the degrees are popping out. People getting various specialties, some dealing with substance abuse or either mental health as well. I got a daughter. That's what she does. She's a clinical psychologist in criminal and those kinds of things. Okay. And then the 3 challenges, which we already have talked about, but I'll show them to you again. Reinvigorate a new correctional leadership, and how important individuals are that decide to jump into this, and recognizing that they must be skilled and very professional. Refocus on our things that work. Okay, evidence-based. What we know about how to get those programs into practice, implementing the evidence-based practices. And then finally, dealing with, as what it says here, some argue for crime fighting strategies that include prevention measures, local level prevention, and community programs. A bottom line is to give something to occupy these individuals as they go forth. That's what refocuses our investment and how it works. And then the last thing, ethical high road. And it tells you here things that we need to work on. You know, corrections today are far more punitive than ever before. U.S. corrections, though I kind of disagree with that. Punitive, if they use punitive in the sense that if you do the crime, you do the time, maybe that's true. But remember, the goal, once again, is to not look at these as individuals. You like a physician, social worker, to help these individuals. Okay. And these are things that can create problems. Men in jail made to wear pink underwear, signs in yards car saying the owner has been convicted of a crime, evicting people from their homes because of drug convictions. These are things that contribute. Refusal of college loans for conviction of drug crimes, life sentences for stealing candy, a loaf of bread or pizza. Healthcare in some prisons is bad, particularly, oh, and I forgot, mental illness. Absolutely, absolutely must be dealt with, as well as the drug and alcohol problem. And so these are that are things that we need to um, take people off of this road and put them on the high road. Or in short, as you know it from me, get off of 12 and get to 6. That should be the end of that. And then the last thing is um, your practice tests, or that's what I call it, your vocabulary review, and you go over that. Um, so, you know, it asks you questions like a concept used to distinguish, and you haven't read this yet, but a concept used to distinguish people according to their cultural characteristics, such as language, religion, and group traditions. So the answer is ethnicity. All right. And that's what I figured. Go back, go back again, and you'll see why it says that. I just want to show you something. Here we go. Let's go back again. Okay, a concept used to distinguish people according to theirs. So it's ethnicity. That's the correct answer. The ethnicity of the individual. Traditionally a biological concept used to distinguish groups of people by their skin color or physical. Think race is right? It better be. Yeah. So you can go on and you can uh, go through and study these. So these are very helpful things. And then please take the time to do the end of quarter survey. All right. All right. Anything else? Anything else before I let you go? Okay. How about the key phrase? Here it is. You need to make sure you get this one. Release planning. That's the overall of the theme. Give me release planning to get your points. Well, it's been my pleasure to have been your professor for these last 5.5 weeks. Um, I hope that you learned some things that have enhanced your ability to become an ethical professional and more educated criminal justice professional. I hope that I have pointed you in a direction and got your mind focused to think in terms of mastery as opposed to emerging, and to keep you focused, understanding clearly that what I try to point out to my students is what you need to be successful. If you saw my video Adversity is the springboard to success. And if you haven't, take time to look at it. It explains some things about myself. But I want to wish each and every one of you the best. I try to help my students and former students as much as I can. I have students that reach out to me, as I today got a request from a former student of mine who is in 4 of my classes. He's a police officer, seeking to be a police officer in a community here in Illinois. And I heard from a detective who is sending me a form that I saw I got to fill out. I'm willing to do that to help my students. But just remember, I will always encourage you to take the high road. I encourage you to get it done properly and right, and not to take the shortcut. Time moves really fast, as you discovered from this course. Um, do you know what you're taking term 2? Are any of them classes I teach? Criminal law, introduction to criminal law, and drugs and crime. Yeah, I thought you had. What about introduction to criminal law? Oh, okay. Because that'll be what I'm teaching. I'm teaching just those 2 courses, 2 sections of drugs and crime, and 1 section of introduction to criminal law. Oh, okay. Okay. Usually people who are in that program end up seeing me in introduction to criminal law. Yeah. So, because you're in Minnesota, right? Yeah. So you have to deal with that post, right? I got a bunch of students that I have taught and helped to be successful dealing in that. So, and then I got a few individuals that are correction officers, psychologists, and other areas. They're probation officers, parole officers, and the like. So, well, I'm going to say good night. Um, Encourage you to, again, stay focused. If you need any questions answered, feel free to reach out to me. So thank you. And I tell people, I can tell people enjoy your break after this term because the next one starts the next day, the 12th. So you finish one on the 11th and you start, unless you get your work done before that, then you might have a day or so off. So your grades for the course uh, will be submitted. I forget the date now because it's either going to be by next Friday or next Saturday, one or the other. I'll find out which one. But anyway, you'll know. All right, so I'm going to say good night. Stay safe. And remember all the things that I've shared with you. Good night.